Hello and welcome back to Pete the Mower Guy's Small Engine Repair. I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I've had a really incredibly great summer with lawnmower repair, and I just haven't had a chance to do a video. But it's into December now, and things are kind of slowing down. Usually by this time I really don't have much going on, but this year's been good, and it's really extending into the winter time. So I'm going to be doing some videos. Hopefully I can get a couple of them up before winter's over. Um, Let me show you what I have planned. So the first video I'm going to do is going to be on this machine here. I'll talk about this in a little bit. This is the Husqvarna, and I'll show you what the problem is. But this is what I'm going to talk about. My first video on is what's wrong with this here. One of the jobs I had over the summertime, that is I had a rider to work on, and didn't have any power. I mean, it didn't have anything. And when I went up to look at this machine, it belonged to a church, and they called me to see it. And when I got on it and spun that engine, there was absolutely zero compression. I kind of figured that the connecting rod snapped. Well, what really happened was let me get this straightened out here. Something got into that cylinder, and look at that piston. I don't know if you can make that out. Right here, it blew a hole right through, whatever got in there, blew a hole right through that piston. And right there, hope the camera can focus on it. Blew a hole right in it. Had absolutely zero compression. Something got into that cylinder head. It ruined this piston, and it also destroyed the cylinder head. When I opened up the crankcase, everything looked good. This is the crank that was in the engine. Let me set it up here. Drop the piston. That's the crank that was in there, and it's perfect. Everything's good with it. When I opened that engine up, I did it before I pulled the cylinder head off, and I saw that everything looked good in there, and it kind of made me wonder why this thing didn't have any compression at all. So I took some parts off of that engine, and I put them onto my engine. I kind of wanted to make sure the alternator was the same charging system on my engine that was on theirs, and a few other things, carburetor coil, things like that. I knew what was good on their engine. So anyways, I switched everything over. After I got it back, I decided to pull the head on it, and that piston is what I found, and destroyed the cylinder head, but everything inside the crankcase was good. Ruined, I'm not sure about the cylinder assembly itself, but ruined everything else. So that was one of the jobs that I did over the summertime. This here's a Kohler K series. If any of you have seen the video that I had in the past, went to Zillion Opal to get that. Well, started to tear it apart, and I'd like to rebuild it, but then some work came in, and couldn't get back to it. So I might end up doing that over the winter time. Maybe I'll make a video on that. But before that, I got a machine over here, and I am really dying to get into this. This is a 1965 to 1968, I think, Cub Cadet 122. This machine, the story that I got from it, belonged to this gentleman who really liked it, but something went wrong with it. And they ended up taking it, and they pushed it into the back of their shed, and the gentleman had passed away. And he passed away like 5 years prior to me even seeing this machine. So the ladies who had it just wanted to give it to me. I wasn't comfortable with that. So I told them that I'll start. They called me because they had a rider that wasn't running, and they told me about this, and they were just going to give it to me. And I told them, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll service that mower of yours. I'll get it running. I'll even do your push mower. I won't charge you anything in exchange for that machine. And they were fine with that. So when I went up to get it, here, the rear axle is locked up. the wheels won't turn. They'll turn if you lift on the side. It's like the axle itself is free, but something in the transmission is locked up. Well, if you look underneath there, I have another transmission that I'm going to put into it. And tomorrow, today is December 3rd, tomorrow I'm going to be taking a ride up where I got that transmission, and I'm going to get another one. Can't have enough. And the guy's price is really reasonable. But anyways, I'm really dying to get into that machine. So that's going to be a video. I'm going to probably do 2 videos on that one. The first one is just getting that transmission out and putting one in and make sure it's working properly. And then the next one will be on getting that engine running. I do have a new carburetor for it. I don't know what else is going to be needed to get the engine running. I don't think it's going to need much because, like I said, the transmission is locked up. And what they ended up doing, they bought those rollers to put it on so they could push it to the back of the shed. And there it sat for 5 years. Now, the ladies kind of said something like, if Dad knew that, if Dad was looking down on this, he'd be really angry. And I says, I don't think so. I think your dad would be pretty happy to see this old girl back up and running. So that's the big project I'm going to do over the winter time, is get that Cub Cadet, that 122 going again. I'm going to get some more information on it, let you know exactly what year it was built, and any other information I can find on it. So that'll be after I do the video on this here. Now I'm going to show you what's wrong with this. I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to set the camera down, and I'll show you what's going on with it. So I'm going to pause it here, reset it, and then I'll be right back. All right, let me tell you about this machine. So this gentleman here called me up. I've never worked on anything of his before. I worked on his neighbor's machine, and he told me that they had to put a start. They couldn't get it started. The starter that was on it was smoking. So they ended up buying a new starter. Well, when they put the starter on it, it just stopped. And when I went over to pick the machine up, I grabbed the flywheel and I couldn't turn it a bit. It was locked up solid. And I figured the engine was shot because you get a connecting rod golding onto a crankshaft, it's not going to move. And I told the guy that. I said, I think I'm going to need an engine in this. I said, have you kept an eye on the oil? He says, yeah. I said, well, let me get it home, but don't be surprised, if it's going to need a new engine. And of course, a lot less than purchasing a new machine. So it's been sitting. I told the guy I'm just going to have to sit a while because I just had too many other jobs, not big jobs like this. And I couldn't have all those people waiting while I was spending all the time working on this. I had another machine that I was working on, and I had to get it out. And I had that thing sitting here for 3 months. It was a Cub Cadet. And that one there had a leak in the oil seal, the rear where the drive shaft goes back to the transmission. I had to pull the engine out. I spent a month working on that, tearing it apart, on top of working on a lot of other equipment too. But anyways, I got that machine out. This is next on the hit list. So I brought it into the shop, and I pulled the flywheel off, or not the flywheel, I'm sorry, the valve cover off, because well, wouldn't you know, right in the middle of that recording, my battery went dead on the camera. Anyways, it wasn't the valve cover I pulled off. It was the engine cover. I pulled it off, and what I found was that Briggs makes, well, the starters are the same, but they make 2 different types of gears on the end of the starter. This is a steel gear, and the other ones are plastic. Why they do this, I don't know. If it's because they just want to make money off people, fine, whatever, I don't agree. But anyways, this gear, this is a brand new starter, and this is a Briggs & Stratton starter too. There's the emblem right there. I'm sure the guy paid a lot for this. This isn't the right starter. The proper starter is a plastic gear, and you can't interchange them. If this engine has a plastic gear on the starter, you got to replace it with a plastic gear. These clutches, these starter clutches, are replaceable. But the guy ended up smoking the starter, and he ended up going to local small engine shop around here and bought a Briggs starter. I'm sure he paid a lot for it, and no good. I wish he would have called me first, because I got 3 or 4 of these starters laying around. I also have the plastic ones, which I had, and I ended up putting it on. Let me see if I can get it so that you can see. Yeah, I'll get in there close. That's the plastic gear right there. And that will work. I already spun the engine for what little it spun, which is how I discovered the real problem with this engine. But anyways, that's the gear. And that metal gear was meshed. It was wedged in between the tooth on the starter. Might be able to see that gear on the flywheel. Anyways, when I cracked it loose from the flywheel, engine was free. So they said they couldn't get it started. Well, I figured what happened was they just kept spinning the engine and spinning the engine till until they overheated the starter. That's what I thought was the problem. And I thought, okay, well, there must be something in that carburetor. Let me reposition that camera a little bit. So I thought there must be something in the starter or in a carburetor. Water, who knows? I tear the carburetor apart, it's clean. Like, all right, so put it back on. I hooked the fuel line on. I didn't put the cover on it. I just wanted to hear it fire. And when I did, I hit the key. Let me make sure that brake's on. It's on. And what happened was that. Now, what that is, and I don't know if you saw it, but what that is the piston is coming up on a compression stroke. And what the problem is, there's 2 possibilities. It's either the valves are out of adjustment where the compression release won't open the valve. What a compression release does, excuse me just a second, I hear my phone ringing. I got a phone call right in the middle of that. So anyway, let me get back to it. What's happening is there are 2 possibilities. This piston is coming up on a compression stroke, and the starter is not strong enough to spin that engine with full compression. So what Briggs did is they made what's called a mechanical compression release. And what it does is it cracks the intake valve open a little bit so that the starter is not spinning on full compression. Once the engine fires, it has a counterweight on it, moves out of the way, and now it's running on full compression. I have seen this countless times on these Briggs engines. What happens is over time, whatever, I don't know, the mechanical compression release built onto the cam breaks, and the only way to fix it is to replace the cam. And last time I did that, I ordered 2 of them, knowing that eventually I'm going to end up having to put another one on. And this is a brand new Briggs camshaft, and I'm going to try to show you. This is the compression release right here, this machine, this part right here. And what right here on the lobe is what cracks that valve open a little bit, so it'll be spinning, not on full compression, but enough compression for the engine to fire. Once it fires, this weight right here flies out of the way, and it gets full compression. Now, I bet any engineer out there can redesign this cam so that it doesn't break. But if you talk to anybody that works on small engines and has been doing it a while, they'll all tell you the same thing. This is notorious to go wrong on a Briggs engine, a single cylinder with overhead valves. I kept one in stock. I thought I had the base gasket. I don't. I ordered it. But this is probably, I'm 99% sure that this is what's wrong. The other possibility is that the valves are out of adjustment. Well, before I tear that engine apart, right here is the valve cover. I'm gonna pop that valve cover out just to make sure that, you know, that the clearances, maybe, you know, they have little tips on the end of the valve stem. Maybe one of them came out, maybe I don't know, but it's definitely trying to spin that engine with full compression, and that starter just not strong enough to do it. So my video, and I'm not going to start on it tonight, is going to be pulling that engine out of there, draining all the oil, disconnect the lines, the fuel, all the electrical stuff, the muffler, the carburetor, pop the engine out of there, and flip it over, pull the base off of it, put a new cam in it, put it back on, and then probably have to readjust those valves. So that's what the video is going to be on. Now, I'm not going to bore you by showing you, you know, me jacking it up and climbing underneath, and, you know, if I got, of course, I got to pull the deck off, and there's 4 bolts that hold that engine on. Pull them out, pull it out. So probably when I come back, I'm going to show you everything I'm going to do, and then I'll pause it there, get the engine out, and start it, and pick up from there. So for you, it'll be a minute. For me, it's probably going to be a couple days before I get back to this. Or actually, for you, it'll be a second. So anyways, stay tuned. I'll be right back. All right. I'm back. Ready to get started on popping this engine out of here. And my intentions today are to get the deck off and get the engine out. And I don't know if I'm going to have time to tear it down or not, but I want to get at least that far. Because the sooner I get done with this, the sooner I can get started on that 122 over there. And I'm really looking forward to working on that. I got what I need. I got the camshaft here. I had to order the base gasket from Amazon. I don't know why. I ordered 2 camshafts and 1 base gasket. Couldn't find another one, so had to order it, so couldn't do much. I didn't want to start tearing her down until I had everything I need. So I'm ready to rip it apart. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pull that base gasket or that valve cover off. I want to make sure, as I said, I'm pretty sure that it's a camshaft, but it could also be that the clearances on the rocker arms are too far out, and that's why it's the compression release isn't working. So let me get that valve cover off. I also want to get the spark plug out and see what's going on there. If everything's cool there, then I got a job in front of me. So let me get my tools for 3/8. These dishes from Parts whatever from Harbor Freight, they're great. They got a magnetic base. You put your bolt in there, nuts, whatever else, and hopefully you don't kick it over, but they'll stay in place as long as you don't kick them over. So, before I get that out, I want to get that spark plug out of there. Briggs kind of changed things a little bit here, and I'm probably going to put the gasket on. I'm not going to charge them for it, but they, instead of using a gasket, they've been putting a silicone sealant on the valve cover. And the only way I figured to get them off anymore is take a chisel and kind of bang at it. Eventually she'll break loose as long as you're in between the valve cover and the cylinder head. I'm not getting anywhere with this. I think I...
Want you to take the head off. There it is. Or the valve cover, I'm sorry. I think the head too. I don't know an easier way to get it apart.
There she is. Perfect. Perfect. Nothing wrong with that. See that one there? I don't know where to. Now, as I'm turning this engine, well, there goes the exhaust. The 4 strokes to an engine, and it's a cycle. It's not one in front of the other or anything. It's a cycle, but it's in this order. It's not. It doesn't matter the order, but the way I'm going to explain it, you got the intake, compression, the power stroke, and exhaust. And I'm turning the engine. There's the exhaust valve letting it out. Here goes the intake. Now, as that piston comes up, it's compressing the full fuel. That valve, that rocker arm, you're not going to be able to see it there, but that rocker arm should move right in there, and it's not doing anything. Let me get the camera closer and show you. All right, this is the exhaust valve, or the rocker arm for the exhaust valve. This is the intake. And as I'm moving that back and forth, they set these up so that the compression release is on the intake valve. And as you can see, no matter where I turn this, there's really no, it should be tight. It should be pushing against this valve right here and letting a little bit of compression out, and it's not doing anything. So that tells me that, oh, you can see the exhaust valve is open, but that tells me that cam shot, and I find it so stupid that they can't, Briggs can't, or won't. I shouldn't say can't. I'm no engineer, but I sure can design that camshaft. I can redesign that camshaft so that that compression release never breaks. But you know, that camshaft's $120, and I think Briggs makes a lot more money off of replacing those camshafts than paying some engineer to redesign the camshaft, the compression relief. So anyways, there it is. I got to pull that engine out of there. I got to open it up and replace the cam. So let me set the camera down. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to grab some. I'm not going to videotape. What I got to do, I got to drop that deck. I got to pull that deck off. So I'm just going to pause it here, grab something to eat. I'm going to get the deck off. I'll come back. I'm going to jack it up. And I got to pull the engine, disconnect the wiring harness, disconnect the carburetor, fuel lines, take the muffler off, and then I can pop the engine out of there. And I'm not even going to videotape all of that. It's just pretty boring just to see me pulling a couple of bolts out. But anyways, let me pause it here, and when I come back, we'll get that deck off, or it'll be off. All right, I had my lunch and came back down, took the deck off, nothing to see, but I did see a problem while I was taking the deck off. I grabbed the camera here, see if I can point it out to you. This cable, this is the cable that you can push the lever, and we put tension on a tension arm, which puts tension on the belt, which drives the deck. But I don't know how well the camera can pick this up, but you can see it's frayed. This thing's going to break. I doubt if it'll last them the season. I don't even know if it'll last a couple of cuttings. But he's going to need to have this replaced. So I'll let him know. If he wants me to do it, I'll do it. If not, then he can do it himself. So let me get the camera positioned. All right, I'm going to jack this up. I got my Harbor Freight riding mower lift, and it's great. It's really a handy thing to have to get underneath these. I usually don't even take decks off when I'm sharpening a blade with this thing. But I got it ready. I want to jack it up. I got to get the pulley off. It's a stack pulley, and I got to get the muffler off. I didn't even realize that. And I should be ready to pop that engine. Got a few wires, fuel line, things like that to disconnect. So let me go ahead and get started. Guy in our class, I have these homework assignments, and one of the guys in the class bought one of these. And what it really is, it's a handy little kit. It has all kind of bits on it, and a wrench. You can use it like a screwdriver. You can use it like a ratchet. Goes either way. Has a lever on it. Make long extensions. Really a nice little tool to have. And that's a Torx that's holding that throttle cable on. So I think I'll just use this thing here to get that off. All right, throttle cable's disconnected. Carburetor's disconnected. Just need to pull the cable off of the starter and disconnect the wiring harness, and I should be able to jack this thing up. So, jack these up, and you got to drop that stack pulley. You got to take the tension off of the belt, or else it'll just be too hard to get it off. Yep, she dropped right out. That's why it's important to keep your machines out of the weather. You got you get rust on that crankshaft, and that pulley rust to it, then you got some real problems. All right, looks like that's a 1/2 inch bolt that's holding that crankshaft or that engine on. Yeah, 1/2 inch. There, I didn't need to. Got it right on. All right, that engine's ready to come out. Let me let her back down. I'll get these bolts put in a secure spot. Get my wrench out of there. That is a stack pulley right there. This pulley here is what drives the machine. This pulley here is what drives the deck. And if you looked in the side there, which I don't see, it's got a notch right there. That's what lines up with the crankshaft to drive it. One of the important things about something to keep in mind is whenever you're engaging the blades, even when you're going forward or reverse, you just don't want to bang it, because that's putting a lot of strain. And as the old phrase goes, the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Right there is the weakest link on the whole system as far as the drive and the deck goes, and you don't want to shear that. Then you got to replace the stack pulley. So, all right, let me let this thing down. I made these. These are out of 2x4s for setting on an engine. They're pretty cool. I actually got the idea from a vault company. They used to use these for setting frameworks up. And I thought that'd be an easy way to make something for putting an engine on. And, you know, if the crankshaft's too long and it sticks down through there, you can always just add another set of 2x4s on it. Pretty strong, too. Let me slide this over just a little bit here. I'm going to put that thing right on my lift table. There. All right, I'm gonna get my lift table over there so I can just lift it and drop it on the table. I don't know how much they weigh. I'm sure I could find out. But I can usually handle one of these easy enough. There. This lift table I got at Harbor Freight Tools. Actually, it's the second one I bought. And it's been great. It's been absolutely fantastic for my shop. I'm able to put mowers on. I added some bars of steels onto the table, made it wider so I could push mowers onto it. Put some clamps on it that if I needed to strap something down, I could strap them down. Put a brace here. I think I went over this on one of my other videos. A brace there, and it's been great. It's been great. So let me get it over to the camera there. Some light on it. Now I got to drain the oil out of it before I do anything. And sure enough, it has a plug in it right here. And that just means it's going to make oil go everywhere. So I think I'll just see if I can turn this thing so that plug sticks out. Maybe I'll prop the back up a little bit so it's leaning forward and not make that much of a mess. Should crack it first, loose first. I found channel lock's the easiest way to get these plugs loose. This is Vice Grip brand channel lock. Let me get you over here a little bit more. These are nice vice grips. Alright, she's loose. I'm gonna lean it forward a little bit. And hopefully all the oil will end up in a drain pan instead of all over my table. Oh yeah, that'll work. Guy said he changed the oil. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I don't know how long he ran it. It is a little dark compared to fresh oil. And he must have ran it a little bit because fresh oil isn't that dark. It is pretty clean, but he had to have ran it some. So anyways, this is about as far as I'm going to go right now. I got to let that oil drain out of there. There's always some residual oil inside of the crankcase. So, you know, I lean it like this. Hopefully it'll get most of it out. I'll have to pull the starter off. It's just going to be in the way. That's not a big deal. I'm going to leave the flywheel on. There's no reason for me to take that off. And when I come back, I'm going to flip that engine over and we're going to pull that base off of there and see what went on with that crankshaft. So be back in a little while. All right. Well, my wireless mic, the one part that plugs into the phone is in charge. So it's not working. So all I can say is I hope I can be heard okay like this. I got the oil drained out of it. Guess I'm getting ready here to flip it over. I'm going to take the cover off because this, well, yeah, I might as well take it off. It's not going to hurt any. I'm going to pull the oil tube off. And this pries right off. There's even a slot right here to pry on. And that's off. I'm not going to take the flywheel off. I'm just going to pull that bolt out because that's what's holding on the screen and everything else. Figure out what size that bolt is. That's the odds. I got it on the first shot. Yeah. Sometimes these flywheel keys, they can get sheared and throw it out of time. No, I haven't seen it really on a rider, but on push mower you hit something and the flywheel key, which is aluminum, shears and it actually saves the flywheel from getting destroyed. Get this puppy flipped over. Oh, she got some weight with that flywheel on there. I'm just going to put it right on my stand. Fits perfect. Alright. I don't know if you can zoom in or make it wider, but right here is where the oil pump is. And I'm going to leave it together right now. When I put it back on, I'm going to take it apart because the camshaft is what drives that oil pump. And I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. Before I do anything though, I got to clean that rust up right there. That base isn't going to come off. And boy, I sure like PV Blaster. That's what I got. I buy it in a gallon jug. You can get it in aerosol cans, but I use so much of it that I buy it in a gallon jug and just put it in a sprayer. Same with WD-40. If you use a lot of it, it's really economical to just get yourself a spray bottle. And no, I don't think this is going to work. I'm going to have to use sandpaper. Get yourself a spray bottle, gallon jug of WD-40, and you know, fill it up. That's what I do here. This is my WD-40. Of course, the other one's my PV Blaster. Alright, I got my 3/8 inch drive impact wrench I'm going to try to use to take this off. Not strong enough. Alright, let's take a step up to 3/8 or 1/2 inch. I know that they do put some thread locker on these bolts. Started to do that, I don't know. Alright. I think I got them all. Looks like it. You're taking these apart. Check the lengths of the bolts. Make sure they're all the same length. Sometimes, I don't know so much on a sump, but sometimes when you're taking a head bolt off, a cylinder head off, the bolts will be different lengths. And you got to be aware of that. I'm going to take my soft face hammer and start tapping on it. As I tell everybody, if it wasn't a pain in the rump, I'd be out of a job. And one of the parts is it's a pain in the rump. You know, it's clean when this base just slides right off of the crankshaft. This is what it should do. And as I said earlier, if there's a slight amount of buildup on there, this sump is not going to want to come off. Not the easiest place to get your fingers. A little piece of sandpaper as far as that goes. Let's see if that's enough. There she is. See, that's the way it's supposed to come off. Oh. And it is exactly like I saw. No, this is actually, this is what operates the fuel pump. Let me show you. That's what operates the fuel pump. Rides on the end of the camshaft, and that's what drives the pump. So I'm going to put that aside. This here is the oil slinger. It fell completely apart. How about that? Huh. And there's the rest of the oh, it's broken. Yeah, it's broken. Huh. I think I have one of these. I'll have to look around and see. No, I don't have to order it. And there's the rest of the here's the cam. Just like I said, it's broken right there. Completely gone. Completely, totally gone. I know I got another engine out there in case I can't find that slinger. I'll take it out of one of the other engines. That's what I keep the spare engines for, not so much to put in another machine, although if I do have everything, I will put it into another machine. I can see the rest of the parts. I'd have to get it done there. Let's see if I can turn that crank. Yeah, there's all the parts. If I can get a magnet down in there and get all of them out. Now what I'm going to do, once I do get this, I got a bunch of gasket material to clean out. But there it is. There's all the parts to the cam. And as I said earlier, nothing you can do. They don't make replacement parts for it. That's it properly in place. Common. Kind of gets me a little bit angry. I know that they can figure a way to make this so that these things don't come apart. This part here is actually part of the slinger. That's what holds everything in place, and that's what pushes against the governor. I'm going to save all this to show this guy what I had to go through. That being broken like that, I mean, I know if I put this back on, it might stay, but looks like the ring's missing that holds everything in place. So I'm going to save all of this for him. Scrape a little bit on this. I think I'm going to pause the video here because I gotta, let me get the camera in there. Not much to see, but I got to get all this gasket material off of here. And I know a lot of it's going to end up in the crankcase. And so what I'll do, once I get that all cleaned up, I'll take it over to the garage door and I'll blast it with some brake cleaner. And clean it all out and then hit it with the air hose and she'll be clean enough. So like I said, I'm going to pause it here, and when I come back, I'm going to reassemble it. Hopefully I can get this thing running by tomorrow. Depends on what I get done tonight. So that's all. I'll be back probably tomorrow. All right, we're back live. I got everything cleaned up. I got the gasket material off the base. I got it off of the sump. I can hold this up to the camera. Nice and clean, got all the gasket material off. That's ready to install, well, almost ready to install. I got the, I'll grab the camera here and let you check out the inside of this engine. Nice and clean. I scraped off all of the material. Had to be careful about gouging the face surface here. Don't want to create an oil leak. And after I was done, a lot of material got inside of the engine, and I just took it and I just blasted it all out with brake cleaner, and she's ready to go. So I'll set the camera up, and we'll go ahead and start getting things installed here. Now, if you order one of these camshafts, I did put an aftermarket one on, And it came with, oh shoot, hang on, okay, all right, didn't have that flap on, still recording. Anyways, it came with the lifters. There's a new pack of lifters. There's the lifters themselves. You want to make sure you put them on. You want to make sure you put them on before you put the cam in. So, and again, maybe a lot of you won't do a job like this, but this gives you an idea what goes on when you have a problem with your engine and it doesn't want to turn. What technician, mechanic, whatever you want to refer to us as, has to go through to get this thing working properly. Now, this machine today, probably going anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500. It's in fairly good shape. Outside of the cable, belts are good. Those are just wearable item. Tires look pretty good. It's not worth scrapping this mower just because the cam went. Sure, he's going to have an expensive repair bill, but it's going to be a lot less than replacing the machine. So when I do a job like this, rebuilding them, I always like to lube everything up with this stuff from Permatex. It's called Ultra Slick, and I lube everything, all the moving parts up before I reassemble the engine completely, to make sure that that on its initial firing up, it's not doing it on a dry run. Stuff's pretty slick. I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know if that SDP oil treatment, I remember a number of years ago they had a commercial where they dipped this flathead screwdriver into a can of SDP oil treatment and grabbed the end of the screwdriver, and whoever had it with their fingers like that couldn't hold it. I thought about it, and I still might give that a shot. I mean, any lubrication's better than none at all, even if you just use oil. All right. Uh-oh. That's all the rings it'll have. Now, I don't know why. I'm sure this guy kept this oil changed on this thing. You know, he did a pretty good job of maintaining it. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the lifters that created this problem. So, you know, they send you new lifters when you get a cam. Might as well put them in. All right, the lifters are in. Now, I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to bring the camera in and show you that there are timing marks on these crankshafts. And let me see, I got to look here. I did touch it with some white paint right there. There's a dot on there, and that's on a tooth. That's on the tip of a tooth. That timing mark goes with this timing mark. Let me set it down here. All right, I don't know why my camera shut off just then. I was reviewing it, and I think I missed, there was a part I was talking about, and that was this piece here. This is what controls your speed of your engine. That's your, this is the governor. As this spins, it pushes this little thing up here, and that pushes against the governor shaft, and that's what controls the engine. Now, from the last one, you could see that I showed that it was broken. Part of the damage that happened when the compression release went. Well, I usually threw these away because I kept them for a while and thought, you know, I'm never using these things. Why should I even bother saving it? So I ended up, I guess I just threw them away. I did dismantle an engine not long ago and had one of these that was in good shape, but I guess I just figured, you know, what good is it? Well, from now on, I'm going to save these. Anyways, I got it cleaned up. This is an exact replacement to the one that's broken. I did compare them, and I'm going to put it in. It actually, the teeth on there, and it's not timed, so it doesn't matter where you put it. The teeth actually mesh with the gears on the cam. And before I even install this, I'm going to put some more of my Slick 50 on this. And And this thing does, well, it slings oil throughout the engine. Plus there's also an oil pump that lubricates the top part of the engine. Alright, so there's that. I think I'll give that thing a little squirt of oil, even though it's going to be submerged in it. Give it a little helping here, just to be safe. Okay. Alright, I'm ready to put the sump on. Well, not quite, because from yesterday I was showing that I have to take that oil pump apart. And the reason being is this one pin, dropped it on the floor. This pin right here, which fits down inside of the sump and then the pump, is what operates the oil pump. So it's not something you want to forget, or the engine will die. So, but the only way to get it all back in is you got to take the pump out. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to try and get that cover off. Just an O-ring is all that seals that. There's the O-ring. That right there, that's the oil pump. That spins, and that's what pressurizes the system. It forces the oil through the oil filter, through the system, and then back into the into the sump. I got it out. I'm going to set it on a rag. I'm going to clean it before I reinstall it, along with the pin. I did open the package, and I was pleased to see that that is actually a Briggs & Stratton base gasket. It's not an aftermarket one. Not that I would have had a problem with it, but I know it's, there it is, part number 697110, and it says Briggs & Stratton on it. So I'm pleased to see that, although I wouldn't have been disappointed if it was just an aftermarket. I've got a lot of aftermarket base gaskets that I've used. I'm not going to put any sealant on this. Usually with this many bolts, it doesn't. They usually don't leak. Although, sometimes I put a sealant on it, but I'm not going to do it right now. I don't think that that's going to even be a problem here. Alright, so I got that on. I put some Slick 50 on, Ultra Slick on a cam, and I'm going to put some here on the crank. I've been buying this stuff for years. I've been using that stuff for years. I don't have a problem rebuilding an engine outside of the fact that it just takes so much time, and if I have other jobs going on, I always like to put it this way. I can rebuild an engine in the same amount of time that I can service 5 lawnmowers and get the same amount of money. The thing is, I could either please one customer and have 5 angry at me, or get 5 customers happy and 1 wondering what's going on. I don't like taking jobs like this on in the springtime, because boy, I get really pounded with mowers. So do all engine shops, small engine places. A lot of people don't think about their mowers until the grass is growing, and kind of say the same thing. I need to cut my grass. There she is. Get her lined up here. Looks good. Gotta check to make sure those counterweights, they call them sinker balance, is lined up properly. Looks good. Now I'm just gonna slightly tap this with the my rubber mallet just to help drop it into place. I'm not going to beat the life out of it. It should just, once it gets to a certain point, it should just drop right in. Just like that. Now there are torque settings to these bolts that hold the thump on. I don't know how imperative it is. I'm not going to torque them. I'm just going to screw them in with the 1/2 inch, let it zap it for a while, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I never had a problem doing it like that before. Everything has a torque setting. Some things you can get away with, not. Some things you shouldn't. When I do a cylinder head, I always follow the service manual as far as torquing them and in the proper sequence too. This one here, I'm not going to go around. I'm going to here. Just stagger it all around. But yeah, I'm not going to torque this down. Guess I should have cleaned the threads up on some of those, but oh well, they're in. Last thing I want to do is break a bolt off. But I don't know if this thing's really that strong that it'd break a bolt off. Alright, now I'm going to put the pump in. And I don't think it matters which side goes in first, although I'm going to install it the way it came out. Alright, now I can get back into it. That was a gentleman, a good customer, a good friend, but he moved and he living in, you know, an older gentleman. His house got to be too much and now he sold the house and anyways, this is a long story. I used to service his mower. But anyways, so I'm getting ready to install the oil pump. I slipped this disc up and I'm going to drop it back in the way it is. I'm not putting that pin in quite yet because I want to drop this in. Alright, now the driving part of it. Again, get a little Slick 50 on there, or what is it? Ultra Slick, Permatex, good brand. That all lubricated. Boy, is it lubricated, I can't hold on to it. There it is, dropped it right into place. And now, the pump part. And again, I don't think it matters which side goes in. Boy, I'll tell you, that phone won't stop ringing, will it? Now I can drop this in, and this is always kind of tricky to get this in because it has to be lined up perfect. And sometimes it might even be easier. Oh, there, I think I got, no, yeah. Yeah, there, I got it in. Let me show you. Get this oil off my hands. All right. That is the oil pump, and that's a pressurized oil system. And what it does is sucks up oil out of the base, the sump, forces it through the oil filter up into the crankshaft at the top journal and lubricates that, and I think it also lubricates the connecting rod. And then it just drops back into the base. And also the slinger helps lubricate everything, throwing it all. Total chaos going inside of that crankshaft or that crankcase when this thing is running. But that's all together, ready for me to bolt her down. This ring, I'm going to take it off, and there's a recessed area for it. I'm going to just set it in there. And that's going to get flooded with oil when I add oil to it. But, you know, if there is a spot that isn't quite touching something, there's lubricant on it. So when the engine turns, it's not turning on bare metal, metal against metal. There will be a film of lubricant in between. Now I took these off with the impact wrench, but I think I'm going to use a ratchet wrench to tighten them up. I don't want those breaking or stripping out. So probably again it has its torque setting. Everything on it has torque settings. And Briggs service manuals are pretty good about that. This isn't that critical. Okay, one last job to do, and that's to get this oil seal in. Don't like to mess with seals. One of those things that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That was complete terrible English. It should be, if it isn't broken, don't try to repair it. I always like to tell the guys in class, it is absolutely impossible to fix something that isn't broken. You cannot fix, you can't, it's impossible. And if you try to fix something that isn't broken, you know what happens? You screw it up. So, oh, this is going in nice. I think I got it. You know, I also tell the guys in class, I may have said this before, that I never get angry at a machine. Never. And it always blows my mind when somebody says to me, you know, this stupid machine won't start. Well, you know, I'm gonna share something with you guys and ladies if you're watching. There is no such thing as a stupid machine. And I may have said this on other videos, but I'm really firm about this. There is no such thing as a stupid machine. In order for a machine to be stupid, it would have to have a certain amount of intelligence. How do you measure intelligence, or how do you measure stupidity? By how smart, how intelligent it is. So machines are not stupid. They're machines. And if there's a problem with it, if it doesn't want to start, it's not like it's trying to do something to you. It doesn't have a memory. It's a machine. And if it doesn't start, there's a problem. You got to figure it out. So I never get angry at machines. I just got to figure out what's wrong with it. But people are a different story. And driving, you know, just being around. Sure, there's a lot of good people out there, and I'm getting another call. Excuse me. Hey, Mikey, let me call you back. I'm right in the middle of taping a video.
Okay.
I'll call you right back in a minute.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good buddy of mine, Mikey. Anyways, people are a different story, and sometimes I see machines that I had a machine I was working on one time, I got a call. They hadn't get their mower started. I said, all right, I'll be over. So I went up there and I pulled the rope, and that engine just spun. I'm like, this engine's shot. You snapped the cap, the connecting rod. It's like, how did that happen? I pull the dipstick. There's no oil on it. I said, there's no oil in it. He says, well, there was. It was on the tip of the dipstick. I'm like, well, that's not enough. So anyways, just to share that with you. I got the bottom all together. I'm going to pause it here, talk to Mikey, flip this puppy over, and see if I can get these rods in. So give me a second. All right, can get back into this. Now I'm going to try to get these push rods in. And I know that, you know, one of the ways people do it, or read about it, is to insert it and then push down on the rocker arm and slip it over the end of the push rod. I haven't had much success doing it like that. I'm going to try it now. I'm going to make sure when I do it that the valve is open. And as I said in the other video, is you want to make how can I put this? It's extremely important that you get these two push rods in their proper place. The aluminum one's on the intake, the steel one is on the exhaust. Why Briggs does it like that, I don't know. Why they don't make them both out of steel, I don't know. They're the only ones. Everybody else uses just steel push rods. I bet I don't see why it would make any difference if I had another one of these steel ones in and just put another steel push rod in instead of using the aluminum one on the intake valve. And when you drop these in there, you got to make sure they're in their proper area. Like I don't have this in on the lifter. All right, I'm going to turn this engine, put my fingers on the tip of these things, and see which one is pushing up. And if worse comes to worse, okay, I can feel the exhaust is going up. I'm going to leave that up all the way, and I'm going to see if I can slip this on like this. This is the first time I'm trying it like this. That's not worth it. I can't push down on that valve spring. I don't know why they tell you to do it like that. I'm going to do it my way. I'm just going to have to readjust those valves. It's not a big deal. This has a locking bolt, like a set screw, on the very top of the part that retains the rocker on. One time, and it was a cheap set of Harbor Freight torque wrenches. I actually broke the tip of it off in the recessed area, and it's like, oh boy, now what do I do? Well, fortunately, I had another cylinder head, and I was able to get everything in right there. All right. Now, of course, now that I cracked them loose, I changed the clearance. So now I'm going to have to reset these clearances. Now I got the exhaust valve opened all the way. The manual tells you that well, my camera ended up battery dying, so I was acting as if the camera was on, and while I was installing the rocker arms and or the push rods, and by the time I realized it, I already had the rocker or the push rods installed and everything. But I still have to adjust these valves. So what I did was I turned the engine to one of the valve rocker arm, pushed the valve completely open. Now they tell you in a book to do it a little bit past top dead center on a compression stroke, but you can do it like this. If one valve is completely open, then the other valve you can set it at that. I watched a video, a guy that sets them all at 4,000ths. Briggs specifies 3 to 5 on the intake, 5 to 7 on the exhaust. The intake, I'm going to be very, very tight with it, because that's where the compression release opens and closes. So I want to make sure that that there's the right clearance there and not too much. So But right now I have the intake valve opened, so I'm going to set the exhaust right now. And I'm going to set it at a 5 thousandths. Might end up being a little bit, you know, looser. I'll put a 5 in there. I'll set it at 5, and then I'll see how a 7 fits in it. I get the right wrenches here. I think that size is 5/8. Yeah. All right. Need some spectacles here, and I'm gonna use my little handy kit here to as soon as I can find the end of it. Here it is. To tighten up the set screw inside of there. So I got it kind of firm right there. I'm gonna snug it up there and check and see how it is after I tighten it. I did notice after you tighten a set screw, it seems to loosen it up a little bit, ever so slightly. I was doing this one time, and I think I might have even told this story. Did it one time. Let's see, that seems a little bit on the loose side, so I'm just going to give it a ever so slight turn. To tighten it. I want a little more drag on it. That's nice. That's nice right there. Alright, I'm going to try a 7 and see how that fits in there. The 7 should be really tight. You wouldn't think 2 thousandths of an inch would make a difference, but if you got them set properly, 3, 4, 6. Goes from 6 to 11. Where's my 7 now? Well, let's see how a 6 feels. Should be pretty tight on the 6. And it is. I'm surprised. Yeah, 6 is real tight in there. Alright, I put my microphone on. I know this camera is pretty sensitive as far as picking up my voice, but I have noticed that when I got this microphone on, this wireless mic, that can hear me when I'm mumbling a little bit. So anyways, I got that valve set pretty good. That's the exhaust valve. Now I'm going to turn the engine, and when the exhaust valve goes in, opens the valve up, I'm going to check the intake valve. There it goes. That's all the way in. It's pretty tight. Now this one I'm going to set at 3, and then I'm going to check it at 5. And then after I get it set, I'm going to turn the engine to see if that valve moves a little bit, which it should with that new cam in it, and which means the starter will be strong enough to spin that engine for it to fire. Got to kind of firm on that 3 thousandths. But like I said, when I do this, it always seems to make it a little bit looser. That's kind of tight. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Really, it's kind of loose. Try it again here. Get her tightened down a little bit more. I think it's more imperative to be getting this intake valve set perfect as much as the exhaust valve. Has a slight amount of drag on it. Really, it feels pretty good. Let me see what a 5 does. Okay, talking about it on these feeler gauges here. You can see, I don't know if the camera can focus on it, but you can see the numbers on it. One's 3 and one's 5. Yeah, the 5 hardly wants to go in. And the 3 slides in real nice. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And now I'm gonna rotate the engine and see when that piston comes up onto the compression stroke if that valve opens a little bit. Let's see. I'm turning it the wrong way. Yeah, that's the exhaust. Okay, the valve goes down, comes back up, intake goes down, comes back up, and there it is. Go around the cycle again. Exhaust, intake. This engine's really floating around a little bit, rocking a little bit. It's coming up on a compression stroke. There it opens. I can see it. Yep, you can even hear it hitting that. Yeah, that should be working good now. Let me go around here again. There it goes. I can see it move down. And it's pushing back up. It's just sliding right off of the tip of that compression release, and valve spring is popping it closed. So she's set. All right, let me get the valve cover on. The valve cover. Now when I get done with this video, I got to edit it and then get it posted. But I could assure you this, as soon as I get this engine together and start running, I'm going to work on that Cup Cadet. So while I'm editing and getting this thing posted, I'll be working on that. And that's probably going to be a 2-series video because first, the tranny's locked up. I think I know what's wrong with that. So I got to pull the tranny off, which means I got to pull everything off of the back there to get to it. And there's a roll pin that holds the drive shaft onto the transmission. I have found it out with my 104. I couldn't get the roll pin out from underneath, so I ended up having to take the fender assembly off to get to it. And it wasn't a big deal. But that's what I got to do, or that's what I'm going to do. Okay, well, here's the gasket. I get these from Rotary. And then if you get into this job, and I've done it, I'll admit it, make sure you put this on with the numbers up. It'll go either way. It'll still seal. But if you ever got to get parts for this thing, it's going to be tough to get underneath that engine to look at what those numbers are. And those numbers tell you everything about this engine. All right, got that in position. I think I left the bolts over here on the other machine. Again, I'm going to tighten these with I might use a 1/4-inch drive ratchet. Just won't go crazy with it. I may have said this on videos before. When you're installing bolts multiple bolts into one item like this, you don't want to tighten one down all the way first and then go to the other one. There's a guy that worked for me at the cemetery, and I had him installing this fender assembly onto the Kubota that we had up there. And I left, and when I came back over, I could hear him cussing and swearing. And so I asked him, I said, "What's wrong, Jim?" He said, with some colorful language, he said, "One bolt, he can't get it started." I said, "Let me see." So he had 3 of them tight. Of course, the 4th one didn't line up. So I took the wrench, I loosened it up. The other 3 that he had tight, I started it, and I said, "Okay, go ahead and tighten it up." As I said earlier, I never get mad at machines. If something's not going right, it's not because of the machine, because you're not doing something right. Had a guy one time, ended up having his mower at some shop. I forget what they did to it. But apparently, the shop never checked the oil. And it ran when he got it back, and here he only had a little bit, and he blew the engine. Here he didn't have oil in it. Now, I blame the shop more so than him, because I don't leave a machine leave here without checking the oil first. And if I would see it low, I would warn him, "Look, man, you better keep an eye on that oil. You're going to pop that engine." Whether it does any good or not, I don't know. But anyways, got the whole block together. So let me put it back straight, put the starter on it, probably put the cover and everything on it now. And hopefully tomorrow I can reinstall it in there and fire it up. Alrighty. Everything should go together easy. Now, this fan here has a couple of nibs, whatever you want to call them, and it has a certain part here where it's cut out. This will only go on one way. You can't put it on the opposite way. You can't put it on backwards. It has to go one way. If you try, you're going to end up cracking it. And then when you fire the engine, it's going to fly apart. So I can see it fitting on there real nice right there. If I flip this around to try to get it on, well, it seemed to fit okay like that too. So maybe this thing is reversible. But my point is this: if it doesn't feel like it's on right, take it back off and rotate it 180 degrees and see if she fits in there. But it's another case of making sure that you put things back together the way you took it apart. I'm going to use my battery Harbor Freight Hercules impact wrench. I'm not going to torque it, although there is a torque setting for it. I'm not going to torque it. I'm just going to use this to tighten it up. And now that should be tight enough, plenty tight enough, yet it's not that tight where it's going to crack the flywheel. You use a really heavy duty one and you really bang down on it, you could crack that flywheel. But this thing I don't think is strong enough to do that. Yet it's strong enough to keep everything in place. All right, dipstick. Get it on. Now there's a shoulder bolt. Shown it in other videos. That's a shoulder bolt. That's the shoulder of the shoulder bolt. I'm going to put that in just to keep it in place for now. Now I have to take his shoulder bolt back out when I put the shroud on. I don't want to put the shroud on now. I'm going to mount the engine and I'm going to fire it up. And I hope she fires up. I don't see why she wouldn't, but I just want to hear it run. And one of the things is if you ever take these apart and you fire them out without the shroud on it, don't run them very long, because that shroud, this is an air-cooled engine. It draws air from here, and with the shroud on it, it blows the air around the cylinder to help dissipate the heat. You run it too long without that shroud on there, you're going to end up cooking that engine. So be aware of that. Oh, there's a cap that goes on here. Don't want to forget that thing. There she is. All right, I think I'll cut this video off here. Come tomorrow, get her back in the machine and get her to fire up. I think while I got it sitting here on the floor, I'm going to put my battery tender on there and make sure that battery's all nice and juiced up, so that when we get it and we want to fire this thing up, she spins good. So I'm going to cut it off here and be back tomorrow. Well, it's the next day. And I got the engine all together, almost all together. I don't have the shroud on it, but I'd like to fire this thing up before I finish it completely up. I can fire it up without the shroud on it, but you do something like that, you don't want to run it too long, because that shroud, I think I explained it yesterday, that shroud does help dissipate the heat from the cylinder. But just to run it for a minute or so, not even that. I just want to hear it run, and then I'll just finish putting it together. So I got the machine right there. I'm going to put it in. I'll probably have to jack it up, but first, before I do that, I got to try to get at least one of the bolts started in a hole, because you jack it up, there's a hole there where the crankshaft goes through, and if you jack it up, kind of makes it a little tough to get a bolt started. I'm going to try to just reach underneath there and get one started, and then I'm going to jack it up. So let's get this engine reset. When I was cleaning that engine out with the brake cleaner, I didn't even see it inside of there, but a little pin right there is part of the compression release, part of it that broke off. That's actually what holds everything in place. I'm going to give that to that guy. All right. As I said, these engines got some weight to them, but I can manage to get it in. I don't need to pull the engine crane. I did pull an engine out of a Cub Cadet, and it was a K series. Well, actually, it was what they called a Kohler Magnum. It was the next generation of Kohlers after the K series. And the K series were all cast iron engines. That's what's in those two Cub Cadets. One's a 10, one's a 12. And they're cast iron engines. And they're heavy. That I had to use the engine crane to get it out. So this I think I could manage to do. Alright, she's in place. I think I got it lined up. Get this out of the way. All right, you can see it there. Get down there and try to get some of these sorted in there. As long as I can get one in, I can manipulate the engine into the proper place, jacked up. Oh, I have learned to remove my keys from my belt clip before I lay on the floor, because a number of years ago I had them on my belt and my fob, my other fob for my truck broke off right there. So I keep that one in the door in the truck. But I've learned, take your keys out before you get on the floor. Yeah, I should grab a ratchet to help get it started in there. I'll use the impact driver after I get them, the rest of them sorted. I'm going to set my hat right over here. Get the speaker toward me. Hopefully everybody can hear me just well. Let me see if I can get one of these started in here. I'm going to get all 4 of these started. Well, I got one started. I just have to get the other 3 started. Then I'll just drive them in with the impact wrench. This impact wrench, it's one of the Harbor Freights. This is a 1/2-inch drive. It's pretty strong. I do use it to put blades on lawnmower decks. I use it to, sometimes take lug nuts off a wheel, something like that. It's usually strong, but it's not so strong that it's going to break the bolt. Now I got a Chicago pneumatic over there, and that's a 1/2-inch drive, and that one's really powerful. But this is definitely strong enough to keep those bolts tight. All right, engine's remounted. Now I got to hook up all the wiring and the throttle cable and the get some oil in it, hook the muffler up, and I should be ready to fire it up. I showed you yesterday. It has a ratchet wrench. You can take it apart and move it across. One of the guys in the class brought it, and as soon as I saw it, as soon as I got home, I ordered one. Amazon, I think it was I know it was less than 30 bucks, but it's really handy if you use a lot of these kinds of bits, these Torx and, like Allen bits. It really is handy. So I don't know about these spades, I might use them for Phillips heads, I don't know. But I also have these 1/4-inch drive bits in my toolkit there, that if it's not in this kit, I can use it. I can get one of those. All right, I'm going to hook the throttle cable up first. All right, let me see if that'll activate the choke. Yep, perfect right there. Get it a little snugger. I don't know if that's a word or not, snugger. There, that shouldn't move. All right. I can hook the fuel line up. All right, I can take this fuel shutoff off. I got the wire. Don't ever forget to hook these wires up under the carburetor. That thing will just spin and spin and spin like it's not getting any gas, which it isn't, because that thing's not activating that solenoid to pull that plunger down out of the way. All right. I think about all I got to do now is just put some oil in it and see if she fires. Take her down. I buy oil in a 55-gallon drum. I know this says 5W20, but this is just an old bottle that I just use to refill, to put the oil into the engine. And then this little tip, handy thing to have. They fit right on an oil bottle. That way you don't make a mess. But I think I'll start by putting a quart in and checking it from there. His air filter's pretty dirty. I'm going to call him, and I like that. I don't try to upsell anything. I'm just trying to prevent any problems that might be down the road. And Although the oil filter is not trashed, it's in pretty bad shape. Matter of fact, it's in really bad shape. You know how dirty that is. And, you know, I'm apprehensive of calling the guy because, again, I don't want him to think I'm just trying to upsell him something. But, you know, can you breathe through that? This thing running, I read this somewhere, that the velocity, and I probably mentioned it on another video, the velocity of the air traveling into the throttle of that carburetor is 70 miles an hour. Now, when you're breathing, what could that be? Maybe a half a mile an hour? Can you try to imagine with breathing through something like that, let alone an engine running at full throttle, sucking air in at 70 miles an hour through that? All right, I'm just going to spin it around. Just want to get some oil splashed around in there. And then I'll put the plug in and see if she fires. That should be plenty. All right, let's get the plug in. All right, now, if I did everything right, this puppy should spin and fire right up. Got the brake on. Choke's closed. See what happens. Well, the engine's spinning. Doesn't want to fire. Throwing exhaust back out through the throttle. All right, she's turning like she should. Well, I did a few more things to it off camera. I readjusted that intake valve. I did notice it was blowing some fuel back into the carburetor, and I don't know if it just didn't have enough compression to pull it back in, so I set it at 5. And let me readjust that so you can see me. Well, that's about it. I checked the valves, I checked the flywheel key, everything's cool. It did fire. It spun a while, it fired. I recharged the battery. But then I thought, you know, I'm going to hook up the air filter. There's a breather that hooks up to it. And with a little bit of blow-by, maybe that helps get it to, you know, get it back into the cylinder. And hit the key. I'm going to finish buttoning this thing up. I'm not going to put the deck on tonight, but I'm going to put the shroud back on and double check the oil and let it go till tomorrow and see what happens tomorrow morning. Don't know what else I could really do to it. So let's get the shroud back on it and go from there, see what happens. So I'll put the shroud on, but I'll fast forward. It's boring, there's nothing to see. I'll just shut it down and pick it back up tomorrow. See what happens tomorrow morning. Now that's the way a mower's supposed to start. If your mower doesn't fire up like that, if you're spinning and spinning and spinning and it takes a long time to fire, something's not right. In a case like this, the engine will just spin so far and stop. Holding that ignition key on isn't going to do any good. All you're going to do, like what this guy did, is burn up that starter. And then turns around, he goes to one of the small engine places where he bought the machine, and he bought a starter. And it's not the right gear on that starter. So here, I don't know what this Briggs & Stratton starter, this is a Briggs & Stratton brand, or has their stamp on it. Yeah, it even has their emblem on it right there. I don't know what he paid for this, but I know he paid a lot for it. I have a bunch of these at home. I probably have 4 or 5 of them. I wish he would have called me first and saved himself some aggravation. But anyways, as I was saying in the beginning of this video, the problem with this thing was that this metal gear, the drive gear, doesn't mesh with that flywheel. And it got jammed, and that's what stopped the engine dead. So I had to rebuild him a starter. I got it on there. I spun the engine. I found out what the problem was. It was that compression release. And found a couple other problems, like I was showing yesterday, that slinger, that oil slinger, which also operates the governor, broken. And like I said, a few of these things on this machine, I have learned. First of all, I have never seen the, or not in recent memory anyways, the oil slinger being destroyed. And also, after I turned the video off yesterday, I did make the clearance on the intake valve a little bit more. I opened it up to 5 thousandths, and I also put the air cleaner on it, the whole air cleaner assembly. And apparently in Briggs' infinite wisdom, if you want to put it that way, they've designed this carburetor so that the whole air cleaner assembly is attached to the carburetor. There's the tube that comes out of the engine. It's the breather that hooks up to it. I don't know. It wouldn't fire without that air cleaner unless I gave it a shot of ether. Well, carburetor cleaner. It wouldn't fire, but once it fired, it ran beautiful. So I put it all back on, and, you know, this is the end results. I have this cable on order. Says today is Monday, I don't know, December 8th, whatever that is. It says I won't be getting the cable until Friday, so I can't finish it, but that's not a big deal. It's not even worth recording. I think I'm going to end this video here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Tell your friends. My goal in all of this isn't so much expecting somebody like you watching this video to learn to do something, but get an idea of what all goes into some of these repairs on these machines. And also there's some simple things that I'll show you that you can do and save yourself the aggravation of going to a repair shop. Also, one of the guys in the class had his dad join, and now his dad worked all his life. He, you know, bought a home, raised his family, you know, got his kids through school and whatever else, and he retired. And the poor gentleman, he didn't have anything to retire for, and he felt worthless. And then his son, who signed up for our small engine class, got his dad to come. And it was like he got, you know, something new in life, something he can do, something he can occupy his time with. And it's great. It's great. So, you know, if you know anybody, you know, older gentlemen who may be retired and not have something fulfilling their lives, have them watch some of these videos and maybe possibly even get them started in some of them. So, you know, doing some repairs on them. So, anyways, I think I'm going to close this video here. I'm done with this as far as the recording goes. Like I said, this cable's not worth recording, but I'm going to go ahead and get this thing loaded into the iPad, but in the meantime, I'm going to be pulling out the 122, and I tell you, I have been dying to get to work on that. So I'm going to get this thing taken care of, and in the meantime, I'm going to be pulling that thing out, and that'll be the next video. So if you like the video, again, give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments, go ahead and make them. And as I said earlier in these videos, if anyone knows anything of like how I can edit these into a different thing, whatever it is, whatever they're called, I don't know. I know that I do this through iMovies. It was on my iPad. And if I could, make them a little more interesting, I'd like to do so. So, anyways, that's the end of my video. Thanks for watching. See you soon, I hope.